Well, gentlemen, we're here today to talk about the Sgc Smart Power Cube, and in their own paperwork, bulletproof, completely digitally controlled power amplifier. It works through 1.6 through 24 megahertz. This is the domestic version, but then when we look down here, we see that it is export version only in small print. So we'll see what that means. I got a wonderful friend of mine and a good man. His name is Mr. Harold. He purchased this thing new back on 5/24 of 02. So 20 something plus years ago. This is a supposed all mode amplifier that's completely digitally controlled. It's got a bunch of dip switches and stuff, which we'll cover here in a minute. I got on the internet and quickly looked around. There's only a couple YouTube videos of this. One of the videos is the guy's got one and doesn't know anything about it. Doesn't have this. Doesn't have the manual, and his is broken. So I'm gonna probably scan this, turn this into a PDF, and see if I can reach out to him and get him this owner's manual, because the documentation on this thing is, I guess, thin and rare. Improper installation of the Sg-500 could be extremely dangerous. The Sg-500 must be installed by a technician with extensive experience and high RF output handling capabilities. Improper installation could cause skin burns, electrical shock, fire, and possibly even death. Never transmit near ventilated materials. Maintain a distance of at least 30 feet from a gas station, from gas sensors, gasoline, or other violent liquid stored facilities when transmitting. Sgc does not warrant installation and does not warranty installation and cannot be responsible for the consequences of an improper installation of this equipment. This is a neat amplifier. This is a fanless amplifier. It is incredibly girthy. It has got big old gnarly heat sinks here on the bottom, which is no joke. This is all one piece of cast aluminum. The whole side and the base of this thing is cast. So it's basically one giant heat sink, which is pretty much where you end up with when you don't have air on something. There's plenty of room on the bottom for a thin, low profile, couple 120 millimeter fans, of course. This does run on 12 volts. I have no idea what the transistors are on the inside. It's got an on-off switch, 14 volt ground accessory PTT. This is for your aux, volt, SWR, temp, attenuation, ALC adjustment. The FCC's got kind of a thing about anything that transmits above 24 megahertz, so we'll see if it's open from 24 to 30. This is your auto and filter select, so PTT, manual or auto, and then it's got a filter selection in it. This is serial number 529-52207. It's supposed to operate on 10 to 18 volts, and in the manual they make it very clear, of course this is 2002 terminology, to not use this with a digital switch power supply, to use an analog iron regulated supply. The one video I did watch where the guy's amp was broken, he had two pieces of 12 gauge coming out of an extension cord, and he said he had it hooked up to a supply but not big enough. I've got the current capability. This here is 2004, that's a lot of amps, and this here is guaranteed over 3,000 amps. So yeah, it says for current 40 amps for 500 watts peak envelope power, 90 amps for 500 watts in CW. The ratings in the data in the old Emmanuel, I was kind of chuckling about this. This thing is kick-ass, by the way. Strongly advised against the use of any switching mode or analog other than an analog regulated supply with the Sgc-500 amplifier. A doing of so many avoids the warranty. So if you use this with a switch mode supply, of course this is 2002 terminology, right? To recommend the supply issue, SGC recommends that you use a unregulated 14 volt 50 amp supply. At lower cost option, you may use a 100 amp hour lead acid automotive RV battery floating with low charge. In the second paragraph it says the Sgc-500 is a bulletproof, in parentheses, fully protected by a microprocessor control. The circuitry dynamically monitors all amplifier parameters and provides adjustment for the protection against VSSWR, voltage SWR, undervolt, overvolt, high temperature conditions. Amplifier is suitable for variable use with the row of LEDs indicated on the front panel. Professional grade design construction utilized throughout the unit, with all circuitry assembled, enhanced with massive die-cast heatsink. Power output 500 watts PEP SSB, 500 watts CW, 10 minutes maximum without fan, 500 watts. 500 watts CW, no time limit with fan at 50% duty cycle. Input power 50 to 90 watts, 150 watts maximum. Band switching, it's manual. Automatic in the export version. Input voltage 14 volts, input range 10 to 18 volts. Okay. Well, that's cute. We'll come back to this if we need to. I want to open this up and see what's on the inside. I'm very lucky that I get to do what I do here. And this is one of these deals where the guy sent this to me and said, can you review it? Can you sell it for me? Let's take a look at it. And I said, dude, I'm not familiar with that amplifier. And my job skill set here is that, well, I've been lucky enough that you guys have sent me literally every single kind of amp that there is out there for the most part. And it's getting rarer and rarer and rarer. Starting to sound like a Christmas story here. To where there's equipment that I haven't already done some work with. Oh wow, look at this band selector on the top. Whoa. Rare one of one, Luke. Let's not drop the damn lid and slam stuff shut. Wow, look at that. SRF 3749s. Man. Boy, they're not kidding. This is actually put together well. So this has got 8 SRF 3749 transistors in it. And boy, it's got good parts in it all the way around. Wow, electrolytics in the right place. The whole microprocessor control unit that's here on the face, I'll show you that here in a minute. It's a control board. At some point or another this coax has been pinched, but that's the input side. I'm not worried about that. That's, wow. Very, very clean. This is the inside of the microcontroller board. As you can see, the software that's on there was copyrighted in 1994. So this thing was being manufactured when I was a junior in high school. I like the use of the fuse holders though. Those are shunts. Those are load shunts, so we know which circuit, how much is each circuit's pulling. This thing is so nice. It's never been burned up. The copyright on this is 1997, 1996. down here on the board where you guys can't see it, there's another copyright. So they copyrighted everything in this amp. And rightfully so, they should have. Boy, this thing's neat. I can't wait to dig into the manual here in a little bit and figure out what the difference between export and domestic distribution is. These are 8 60-watt transistors. The common cross for these are the MR454, by the way. So 120, 120, 120, 120. This is neat. This is a Motorola built part. Supposedly a little bit better transistor than the 454. Supposedly. Well, I don't think I see anything in here that gives me any concerns for hooking it up. I want to sit down, I'm going to read the manual so I can be a little bit more of an expert on it before I decide to power it up. But yeah, when we get back, we'll have this thing hooked up. We'll hook up the ICOM 7300 to it, and we'll give it a whirl on the whirligig. You give me a minute and I'll know what all of this does. Just give me a minute. Boy, this thing would be fun to take out on field day. It really would. This, drag 4 batteries out there and sit there and hammer away with this thing. Man, you'd be making contacts everywhere. Okay, so when they say it is auto everything, it is literally auto everything. Go down here, I turn on the power supply. I've been sitting there playing with this thing. We're going to turn that in right at 14.9. It is auto everything. This is literally put in the trunk of your car and go to work. I ain't never seen nothing like this. So you can build an auxiliary that goes ground, and then you can tell it what band it needs to be on with an auxiliary band switch, or just leave it be auto. Just like this. It pulls 0 current. The only thing you're powering up is that LED, for the most part. There's no fans, there's no nothing. So we have 1,000 watt in peak, and 1,000 in peak over here on the bird scale. We're going to do a lot of this panning over to the spectrum analyzer, and we're going to turn this thing off. So we're going to start on 160 meters, and we're going to do AM, then sideband on each band. So we're going to put 26 watts of carrier into this thing on AM. 500 watts on the button. Hello, 1, 2. Going forward to 750 watts on AM. So now we'll go to sideband. Hello, 1, 2, 1, 2. 775 watts on 160 meters. Hello, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. You can see it just takes it a nanosecond to figure out what band it needs to be on. Hello, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Now if you hook up the PTT, which is ground, so we take our ground here and we short it to the PTT function, we can have that relay closed and get rid of that very microsecond worth of high SWR. This works in all modes, you guys. All modes, all bands. Hello, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Can you imagine what kind of devastation you could do with 750, 800 watts on sideband on 160 meters? I don't want to think about it. Okay, so now we're going to go to 80 meters. Turn the amplifier off. Once again, 28 watts worth of drive. 500 watts on the button. Going forward. Let's go to sideband. Hello, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. Hello, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. All right, let's change our band again. On AM once again. Same amount of drive. 486 watts. Hello, 1, 2. Going for it again. Let's go to sideband. Hello, 1, 2. 800 watts, yet again. This thing is awesome. I mean, if I could afford it, I'd probably buy this and just keep it myself, because this is the answer. And this would probably be something I'd want to copy and produce for other people to use. Once again, same amount of everything. 500 watts on the button. Hello. Oh shit. Back. Sideband. Hello. 1, 2. Every band so far has looked just like this. Hello. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. 100% of this is going out on the frequency that we want it to go on. So, 40. Now we're starting to see the drop off a little bit. Same amount of drive. 400 watts, 393 watts. Same amount of drive. Still, 400 watts on 40 meters? Okay, here, we'll go to sideband. Hello, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Around 600 watts, 645 watts. Hello, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Audio, that's the way it ought to be. Oh, yes. Back to you and the rest of the group. Clean is a church mouse. I'm telling you, impressive. Hello, 1, 2, 1, 2. And it can change bands like that. Why did these guys not just completely dominate the market? I don't get it. I've never heard of these guys before. Same amount of drive. This is typical what we're seeing. The RF drop off, the higher you go in frequency. It's typical. Hello, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Still 700 watts. And this thing's not even warm. I mean, I'm... Okay, 20 megahertz. Here we go. Sideband. Hello, 1, 2, 1, 2. 550 watts, 21 megahertz. Hello, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. I am beyond impressed. There's 24 megahertz. Sideband. Hello, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. 500 watts. So as always, with a solid state box, they kind of lean themselves a little bit to working in the lower frequencies. Hello, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. This is the coolest no tune, no switch, no bullshit. Friggin' awesome. Alright, so this is an export model because we're now going to go run it on 10 meters. 300 watts. Hello, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, hello. 480, 500 watts. Hello, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Talk about drop the mic. Holy crap. So let's go back to 160 meters. Let's go to AM. And we're looking at the volt amp gauge now. Hello, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. 60 amps. Hello. Okay, so CW, I've got to have the auxiliary thing and I don't have it. Let's go to FM. That is unreal. Wow, that is so badass. Okay. 80 meters, FM. All right. Jump directly up here to, and then FM. Now on FM and CW, you'd probably want to have a fan. And I'd get like a 240 millimeter, really slow CPU fan. And I'd mount it on the bottom of this thing, so, and then I'd put a thermocouple in a heatsink, and the heatsink's not even warm. This is ridiculous. All the transmitting I've been doing, it's not even warm. I gotta tell you, I'm in love with this thing. It's 80 degrees. Check it out. $89 degrees. Man, that is cool. So I got to thinking, I called the customer today. And the SGC, this logo popped out of my brain. I'm like, wait a minute. I've dealt with this company before. And then it clicked. It hit me. This is one of 2 companies that ever built a fully legal limit, full auto, no brain power required wire antenna tuner. And I have one. I got it from my friend Gary, who, rest in peace, passed. Gary had this really cool, they call it the Sgc-500 auto tuner. All solid state, legal limit, 1500 watt plus, so I'd say about 2000 watts, 50 ohm input, exterior rated, antenna tuner. I got it mounted on my tower right now with a offset Carolina Windham. I'm like, no shit. This company made some amazing products in their day. Amazing, 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 amazing products. Okay, now, why I'm here, and I've got everybody here, right? And we're all looking at this, and yeah, we've seen it work in all modes. I wanted to point out, because there is no good, like I said earlier, there's no good reference video for this amplifier anywhere on the interboob. There's not. So I've got a fully functional, mint, very rare. I don't know how many of these they made, but I know how much this guy paid for it new. It's going to shock you when you find out how much this cost in $1999. Okay. Where we're going to start is right here. This port right here. This is you're going to leave these 2 jumpers alone, by the way. That might have something or might not have something to do with the export, non-export version. There's 2 switches, 2 big dip switches that you can hit with your fingers. This switch here, the first one here, is for the manual auto PTT. It says PTT, manual, auto. This is the filter for auto or manual. So we're going to move that up to manual. Now what I want to do is I want to cover this jack. It's covered in the manual, but the manual I can't even find. So as the time of this filming, there's probably somebody out there that knows how to use an internet search engine better than me, okay? And they'll be able to find the manual. Myself, when I typed in SGC, Sg-500 Smart Power Cube manual, I got. So, already scanned it into a PDF. I'm going to start handing it out like it's candy. In the interim, I wanted to show you how this works. So all of this, from here down, works on a drop to ground, or what they call pull to ground, okay, or go to ground. This is your common ground that you'd use for your remote. AGC is a positive voltage that is created by the amplifier as the amplifier is modulating forward and creating power. That in turn sends a positive voltage back to your radio, and this is your ALC adjustment. I said AGC, I'm sorry, ALC. This is your adjustment so you can marry the voltage output of this device to your radio. And you can take your ALC adjustment and adjust that up and down on your radio, and that in turn will throttle the amount of drive that's going into the amplifier and keep you at a set output level, right? So you set this thing up so that you want to be able to put 50 watts in it, because you figured out at 50 watts on sideband it does 500 watts, let's say. You can adjust this output voltage with a small flat blade screwdriver, and that'll in turn send a voltage, a positive voltage, to your radio and say, okay, don't send me any more drive. And internally on the radio, it'll turn the carrier down on the radio to keep you at your 500 watts. And that in turn will allow you to jump back and forth across all the bands. You don't have to do any power adjustment. Me personally, because you're not going to be anywhere close to going close to legal limit with this piece of equipment, it is what it is. Okay. Down here on the bottom is a little 3-pin plug that's down here in this hole. That's for the fan control. Now it's a smart control. It's a standard pinout, positive, negative, and then the signal send to speed the fan up or slow the fan down. And that's so if you wanted to, you could mount this thing upside down and put a fan on the heatsink, or get a shallow, like 200 millimeter fan and hook it up to this. It's got a 2.5 amp output for the fan. So you can put a fan on this that runs on 12 volts that runs up to 2.5 volts, or 2.5 amps. This is an XMIT mode. This is your current over limit. This is your voltage. This is your VSSWR. This is temp. And then this is attention to the amplifier. This will start blinking when the amplifier starts to get warm, and then it says in the manual to reduce your output levels. Let's go up here. I'm going to grab onto the 12 volt hot. Let's grab the 12 volt hot. Now if we look over here, we'll see that our power indicator is off. The switch is also in the off position that we can see. If we take 12 volts positive and we feed it to this top pin, the amplifier will turn on. You see that? The on indicator's on right here. Okay? On. So that's how we remotely turn the amplifier on. So now we'll flip the power switch on, and everything is set for, this is set for manual. So now we're going to pull everything low. Your push to talk, your PTT is low. And then also when you start engaging your filters, see how that works? So now we're pulling down to 30 megahertz. And then we'll go down 1, down 2, down 3, 4, 5. Top pin and the second pin. Top pin is going to be your 12 volt in. Now also, this has a 5 amp out on it. If you didn't want to use it as your auxiliary input to do your remote, you could also use this to do a fan, but in the manual it says that you're limited to a 5 amp load, max. And it should never take any more than 5 amps to turn it on. Just saying. So we'll put this back to auto. So you got your fan accessory, 12 volt on, common ground, your AGC out, or ALC out, pardon me, I keep saying AGC, your ALC out, your PTT, which is a combination of ground and PTT together. And then you're going to utilize a simple, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 position rotary switch in a common ground. Click, 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 if you wanted to do it a manual. But the beauty of this thing is it's 100% auto. And that is a beautiful, 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 beautiful option for today's dollar. Absolutely wonderful. You don't know how bad I want to buy this, and I want to literally rip it apart, and I got a bunch of ideas that I would do with this. I don't know if I go with the big giant milled out billeted casted heatsink that this thing is built from. I think I'd do something a little bit different with a built-in fan and control the air movement. But the auto circuitry, I freaking love it. I think that that is great. The safety protection circuits that are in this, in its time, 30 years ago, 26, 27 years ago when this was built, there was literally nothing like it else on the market. There just wasn't. And even today, it's a pretty big stretch. I know that nobody here in the United States is building anything like this, for the most part. I'm sure there's a guy out there that can build something like this. Does he have a type accepted serial number? And does he have an FCC serial number like this and this sticker that's here that's now faded? Probably not. So I talked with the gentleman that owned this amp today. And I said, brother man, what did you pay for this amplifier when you bought it? And he goes, well, in 1999, I paid $1,200 for this amplifier. That translates to $2,259 today, in today's money. $2,025 bills. This thing picked up $1,000 just by sitting in your closet. His very first question is, well, how much drive did you put in it? And I said 100 watts. And he goes, well, what'd it do? And I said 800 to 500 watts. He goes, oh, I never drove it that hard. I said, well, what's the most you put in it? And he goes, maybe 30 watts. He used it on 40, 20, and 80. This amplifier's dimensions are 11 and a half, and that's to the coax plug, by the way, by 11 and 5 or 10 and 5/8 by it looks like to be about 6 1/4 with the rubber feet. Without the rubber feet, it's right at 5 inches. For the dollar, for the parts, for the technology that's in this little cube, there is nothing that is currently made that I am aware of. And I'm not saying I know all. And I'm sure that in the comments I'm going to get a dozen comments where people are going to be like, hey, you know, so-and-so's building that same thing. This is an amazing bit of kit. I wish that I was in a different place financially to where I could afford to buy this out from this guy and just sit on it. This company built some cool shit. This Sgc company. I got on the Wayback Machine and I was looking at their webpage today. I mean, shit. Their email was AOL.com. That should date it. It was sgcmkt@aol.com. I know this thing is worth way more than what we're going to sell it for. In my mind, this is like a $2,200 unit, right? But I know if I put it up here for $2,200, we're going to be sitting on it for a long time. Because nobody knows what this thing is. This isn't like an Ameritron, whatever. People don't know. The people that do know, they're going to all be like, holy shit, that's an amazing... I don't know. I'm going to ask 18 for this, and we're open for serious offers on it. I mean, honest to God, serious offers. And if this thing doesn't sell, you're not going to... I'm not going to cry a penny, because I'm going to buy this from this guy, and I'm going to keep it. This thing is absolute shit, in my mind. footprint, operation, design, construction, components internally, filter board, automatic circuit, zero tune, no interface modules, will work with every single piece of radio equipment that's all banned out there. You can come close with, well, not even close, the ALS-500 or the ALS-800, which the rare one's ALS-800. Even with, I mean, you got to have remote or auxiliary auto-tune box with the right software attachment, with the right interface control adapter, with the right, and the right to make that work. The Henry SS-750, the Henry SS-700, the Metron 800, the Metron 500, the Metron 600, the Metron 1200, and the most elusive one of them all, the Henry SS-12 and 1600, which I recently just purchased a 1600. They're not auto anything. It's all manual. This thing is the shit, man. That's all I gotta say. So if you're interested, here's the phone number. You guys all know how to reach me. I'm surprised I'm not in like 10 million frickin' phones and their numbers say BBI, amp asshole. You know what I mean? Hit me up. Give me a call. If you're interested, we're open to serious offers. We're gonna start out at 1800. This is a rare find. This is a rare ass find. I mean rare, and it's in great condition. The only thing it's got going on is there's a little tiny red scuff that's on this side of the cabinet. And because this is acrylic powder coated, I'm sure that we could come back with some carb cleaner and wipe it off. I just didn't want to go to that level yet. Man, I want to keep this amplifier. Rare find, made in the USA, legit 100%, old school badassness. God bless the Patreons. Thank these gentlemen for their support, because they're the reason I get to spend 2 days totally dinking around with this, and I'm not some slime line manufacturer in a hustle to do something. This thing is neat. Thank every single one of you. If you're interested, give me a call, shoot me a text, send up smoke signals. On that note, I said, I'll see ya. Click, click.